Welcome to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I'm Drew's co-host, entertainment writer Jim Hill, and he and I are recording this show on Friday, February 21st, 2020. Now, it's kind of an interesting day animation-wise, right, Drew? Because, what is it? Today is when the 7th season of Star Wars Clone Wars drops.
Yeah. Did you watch it?
It's on my list. In fact, my problem is I work the James Michener side of the street. You can't just watch season 7 of Clone Wars. I actually started with the Gennady Tartakovsky Clone Wars stuff, the hand-drawn thing that they did that predated the CG.
That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite Star Wars things ever.
And I was kind of shocked. There's like 2 hours of them. And, I remember when they were initially being breadcrumbed out, and you'd get like 3 minutes at a time, but they were, so beautifully animated and so well done. So, yeah, it was one of these things where it's like, well, if I'm going to really understand and appreciate this, I should start with Gennady's stuff. And then he was switching over to the CG show and sort of getting caught up. So I'm plowing through them. I want to do my due diligence, but it was just kind of interesting to watch the Clone Wars animated feature that was done out ahead of the show.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, but the weird thing of it is I remember when it came out, and you're right, that was kind of the reaction of, the entire world. In fact, it didn't do all that well at the box office. It was the first Star Wars film to really get panned. I mean, let's be honest. The prequels didn't get great reviews, especially Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, this one got hammered. But to watch it now that there are, 60, 70, 80 episodes of the Clone Wars animated series, it's sort of like, yeah, okay, I know this look. And that was the other factoid I came across, was that George supposedly, when he was sort of revisiting the material, which, by the way, Gennady did not like the idea that George went back and basically redid what he did. Mm-hmm. But George decided that for the look of the characters, he wanted something like those wooden puppets for Thunderbirds. Do you remember that?
That was the inspiration of the look of those characters?
That was the inspiration for the look.
Good Lord. Yeah, I mean, it always struck me as kind of like neither fish nor fowl, where it was sort of like he was ripping off the Gennady stuff, but also creating his own, and it was kind of neither here nor there, and I was never super into the look of Clone Wars. And I understand there are limitations with CGI, but yeah. Well, I mean, I watched this first episode. It's really good, so you should watch.
Okay. I will get
This is what I was doing, Jim, when I was 8 minutes late to record.
Well, I'd see, again, you just jumped in.
I'm committed.
I got to back up the truck 1,200 miles. On the other hand, I also Call of the Wild opened today. And again, we've talked about this previously, directed by Chris Sanders, who co-directed Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. And, it wasn't until... I remember when you broke the news to me that it wasn't a real dog, that I think it was harder to tell in the initial ads, but now with the promotion that's been done since, and it's like, oh yeah, that is a cartoon dog, but it's not just a CG dog. It's a replacement of a Cirque du Soleil performer in a performance capture suit. And
yeah. Terry Notary has been he was Kong in Skull Island.
Was he really?
Yeah, he's okay. He's a very cool movement type guy. He was in the Hobbit trilogy, Tintin, Avatar, Planet of the Apes. I think he was in Planet of the Apes the bad gorilla that he had to kill.
Oh, I know
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, he was Rocket in the Planet of the Apes movie, so that was not a bad one. But yeah, he's been in a bunch of these movies. He's also a stunt performer, in costumes too. So he was in Attack the Block and a lot of other things. So yeah.
I just hate to say it, but coming on the heels of Togo, it's weird. The bar is set very high right now for, these sorts of movies set in the Arctic with dog sleds and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you can actually get a performance out of real dogs. You don't need the CGI, but I mean, I get it also.
Okay. Well, again, going to try to get out and see that this weekend.
The reviews
as well,
have not been great for that one.
Well, but again, face it, how many different versions of Call of the Wild have been produced at this point?
Yeah.
It's
sort of ironic that it's a Fox movie, but it feels very much like a Disney thing.
Absolutely. And yeah, but I guess we got to get used to that. So on the other hand, you earlier this week, and appropriately enough, given that you did write the art of book for this thing, but you attended the premiere of Onward, didn't you?
Yeah, it was great. I, got to see the finished version. I hadn't seen the finished version yet. I'd only seen it. When I saw it, it was, I would say, 98% storyboards. I think there were two scenes that were sort of animated, but they looked more like, PlayStation 4 cutscenes. So,
Holy cow.
Yeah, so this was really the first time I'd actually gotten to see the movie. So that was really a big thrill for me.
Okay.
And the crowd really responded well. You could hear the sniffling, echoing through the the very end, so, yeah.
Now, I was supposed to get out and see it this week, but we had a snow event on Tuesday. So I missed my opportunity, but they're supposedly doing some advanced screenings in the next week or so. So hopefully before it actually opens on March 6th, I'll get to see this thing. But the interesting thing is that on the very same day that I couldn't get down my driveway to see this movie, UPS couldn't get up the driveway to deliver the Onward books. So the very next day I come down and I look and what's that in a snowdrift? And it's literally a plastic bag, and inside the pack is a package filled with the Onward books, which I've since read.
Okay.
And I don't want to give anything away plot-wise.
Yes.
But I have to admit, I really like the third act twist. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a really smart way for this movie to go, given that, if you think about the way this has been advertised and that sort of thing, is a movie about magic and adventure, but at the same time with a contemporary feel. But when you really get down to its heart of heart, it's a story about a family, and which some 16 years after the fact is still dealing with the passing of the father.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you were at D23 in 2017 where they unveiled this thing, right?
Well, yeah.
I still remember that vividly, that whole story that he told.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the interesting thing is that I remember when Josh was on stage telling the story, and it was such a pure and personal story. But at the same time, to look at the very elaborate movie that's been built on top of that, it's like, okay, well, how do you get back to that? And that was what was sort of startling about reading the story. And I was like, oh, that's a really clever way to go.
Yeah.
So, and again,
I think even the people that don't like this movie that much can appreciate that ending. I mean, it's really good. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, again, we'll put a pin in this, folks, and get back to an in-depth discussion in a couple of weeks, which, again, Drew can do better than anybody else on the planet because, he's the guy who wrote the soon-to-be-published by Chronicle Books, The Art of Onward.
Yes. Order your copy now. I got my copies in the mail the other day. I was so excited.
Oh,
nice to hold it in your hand, so.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of housekeeping things here, though. It was the premiere, so they don't really show trailers at the premiere,
they
right?
Don't, no. But you know what they did? They did have the walk-around characters from the parks there.
Did they?
Which was very cool. And they turned the Hard Rock Cafe into the Manticore's Tavern, which was also very funny.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay. I have to ask, though, have you heard? I mean, I have to assume that we're going to get another trailer for Soul out in front of this thing, right?
Yes, we are going to get a trailer for Soul. Of course we're going to get a trailer for Soul attached to this. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Okay.
We're also getting a trailer for Connected, which we saw the first look images of this week. The formerly known as Mitchell's versus the Machines, which is coming from Sony, which I'm very excited about. So that'll be attached as well.
And you were saying you were especially looking forward to this because of the projects. One of the key creatives is, sort of the secret weapon from Gravity Falls.
Yeah,
right?
Mike Rianda, who I think he is only credited as like a creative consultant or something, but he was really one of the driving factors in what made Gravity Falls so special. But Yeah, we got another Pixar movie coming out soon. So yeah, we're going to get a new Soul trailer with Onward.
Okay. Yeah, because in theory, Onward has a killer slot. It opens March 6th. We don't really get a new animated feature out there till DreamWorks Trolls World Tour on April 17th.
Right.
But that said, 3 weeks after Onward gets released, here's Disney with its brand new live-action version of Mulan. And let's face it, the promotional dollars are going to shift fairly quickly over to a full court press on Mulan.
Right.
And then right behind that is Black Widow. So, yeah. I have to ask about this because I know you and I, as long as we're talking trailers, the Minions Rise of Gru trailer dropped, since we last recorded.
Okay.
What is your take on that? Because I can't decide if it's the most idiotic trailer I've ever seen or it's the most brilliant trailer I've ever seen.
Well, it seems like less of a trailer and more like just a scene from the movie.
No, that's it exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's how there's supposedly this art form of condensing an entire movie down to like 2 minutes and picking the best moments and dangling that carrot. I feel like I just watched 2 minutes of the movie and I know exactly what this movie is about.
Right.
But with no surprises left at this point. So if we're being completely honest here, this is the 5th Minion film.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of surprised to find out officially now is the highest grossing animated film franchise in Hollywood history.
Really?
Yeah. The way the numbers break down, Despicable Me right now, the 5 films have grossed $3.7 billion worldwide. Coming in a close second is Ice Age. That's, again, 5 films as well. That's $3.2 billion worldwide. And then, interestingly enough, Toy Story is third, but with 4 films. I mean, they've done bigger boxes overall individually, but that's $3.043 billion in worldwide ticket sales. But the thing I find fascinating is that I don't know if you saw in the latest pile of marketing material for Disney Plus that on March 1st, Ice Age makes its official debut on Disney's streaming service.
Finally.
Yeah, and I know you and I have talked previously about how the Easter special was on there, but this is the film from March of 2002, the one that launched it, and evidently, there's a number of folks at Imagineers, they've been asking for these films to be put on Disney Plus so they can start building a case about building attractions for the park based on this franchise.
I just want. Do you think there's still gas in the tank though for this franchise?
That's the weird part is that supposedly they have asked for a 6th Ice Age film, and yeah. Where is there left to go? Because wasn't the last one, Scrat spent most of it in a UFO because they'd literally run out of stories to tell on Earth. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Anyway, we were just talking about Call of the Wild.
Yeah.
Opens in theaters this Friday. Interesting thing is that already the trades are kind of weighing in and saying, it's really, to be completely honest here, it's far more likely Sonic's going to beat this in its second weekend of release. You didn't manage to get out and see that, right?
I did. I couldn't bring myself to, Jim. The reviews were so bad. I was just like, you know what? Life is too short. I'll see it. I'll see it on digital, or somebody will send me a Blu-ray. I don't need to make this a priority.
Well, before we move on here, I do want to point out that remember when we initially reported on the fact that they had shifted the release date and they were going to redesign the character. And you, Drew, almost immediately said, oh, that's going to impact the toys.
Yes. Yeah, because those toys were on their way, baby.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The toys are sitting on store shelves right now, and they're still sitting there, folks. Kids will go in and, I like the Sonic movie. And it's like, let me get the toy. And it's like, what happened to Sonic? Evidently he had some sort of horrible offstage accident. But it's the original look for the character, and they're just not selling. So
yeah, I mean, I saw too that like there's a part where there's a baby Sonic moment, and even that is from an original design that is just absolutely nightmarish, and so all those toys are not moving either. So yeah.
Well, remember, they excavated the dump where they put all of the ET game cartridges. So at least there's someplace to put all of the, the Sonic toys now.
Yes, that'll be a documentary in 20 years, us uncovering the Sonic toys. Oh, my
All right. Well, while we're talking about theatrical releases and that sort of thing and trailers, ahead of the Sonic movie in theaters is the trailer for Rumble. It's Paramount Animation's big release for January 2021. And Drew, I'm almost reluctant to do this because, face it, this time last year we were getting ready for Wonder Park.
The world wasn't ready for Wonder Park. No, I'm kidding.
Well, but and it's interesting you bring that up because think about it. Later this spring, we have the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, comes out in theaters, and that basically sets up the prequel series, Camp Coral, that Nickelodeon is doing. And in fact, that just this past week finally got a release date. I guess it's going to start airing in July. But think about it. The whole story that we were told about Wonder Park was it was setting up the animated series that evidently was in production at the same time. Drew, it's more than a year now, and that show has yet to air. I mean, yeah. I can tell you the name of it. It's called Adventures in Wonder Park. And according to IMDb, it's supposed to start airing next month. But I'll be damned if I could tell you when.
I'll believe it when I see it, Jim.
Yeah. But anyway, look.
Did you see the Rumble trailer?
I did. And look, I'm one of these guys who actually grew up liking the bad Godzilla films, where you could basically see the zipper, right. And, they were doing the horrible wrestling and knocking over the buildings made out of balsa wood and tissue paper. But that's the thing of the conceit of this movie, is that this is a collaboration between Paramount Animation and WWE Studios. And the conceit is that what if kaiju like Godzilla actually exist, only instead of tearing up cities, they then battled each other in oversized rings for our entertainment. And, I love Will Arnett. I really, really do. I want this to work.
The designs are terrible. I mean, his character looks just like Sully from Monsters, Inc.
I know.
And I'm sorry, but I'm sure there are many talented people working at Real FX, the animation studio. Yeah. But good Lord, their product is just so kind of plasticine. And I don't know. I was not impressed by that trailer at all.
No. But again, we're 11 months out. Maybe they can turn it around.
It looked pretty finished, though. I mean, that was the other thing that I was surprised by, was it's like, this is coming out in January? But I mean, it was supposed to come out in July.
It was. Okay, I'm trying to be positive here. Hey, pause. What? You were just talking about Paw Patrol, right?
Yes.
What?
There's going to be a Paw Patrol movie, Jim. Are you excited?
Well, again, you know me. I love dogs.
Right.
Have we told people yet about your dedicated Instagram for your dog yet?
No, but I mean, if you want to see my dog, it's Nova the Jindo on Instagram. And if you want to see some really cute pictures, my wife, Katie, is the one that she's really her social media manager. Yeah, my dog is very cute, and I know Nancy loves seeing photos. So
and as do I. But again, so it's Paw Patrol. It's dog. I'll grade in a curve here.
I mean, it's from the director of Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, and Escape from Planet Earth. So what I'm trying to say is, I smell a classic, Jim.
And you had to ruin it. Okay. Okay. Well, pivoting to other television-related projects. Did you see? I think it was actually the same announcement where they revealed when Camp Coral was going to drop. And in fact, what is it? SpongeBob's Underwater Years or Underpants Years? I forget what
it's called.
It's
under years, like under younger years, yeah.
Younger, there we go. My mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that same announcement, they revealed that Steven Universe Saga officially coming to a close. We've got the first of the final 10 episodes begin airing on Cartoon Network on March 6th. And the series comes to a close on March 27th with a 4-part series finale.
I'm so glad that I know this now, Jim, because I was so confused. I thought the last episode was the last episode ever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it's a great episode, but it's kind of a light episode. So until that announcement, I was under the impression that was it. So I'm very thankful that this is coming to a conclusion.
Well, but that's where it gets kind of intriguing, is that this is Rebecca Sugar, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And evidently she put out a statement to the effect of, going to appreciate everybody who's worked on the show. And, and then it got interesting with sort of the effect of these characters will live on. And I bring that up because, first of all, I want to mention that as part of the lead up to the show, Cartoon Network and Fathom are teaming up on March 23rd. Nationwide, they're doing a Steven Universe, the movie sing-along event, where the interesting thing is they show the movie, or the well-reviewed, well-received, Emmy Award-winning TV movie, with the lyrics at the bottom of the screen so you can sing along, but it also includes the world premiere of a Steven Universe Future episode out ahead of the show ending on March 27th. But getting back to Rebecca Sugar, when she was paneling, I want to say at Comic-Con, somebody in the audience brought up, wow, you guys do such great music for this thing. And have you guys ever thought of doing a Steven Universe, the musical, in the style of the SpongeBob musical that went to Broadway? And there was supposedly this kind of awkward pause during the panel where, Rebecca sort of looked to each side, and it's like, I don't think we're allowed to talk about that yet. So,
oh, wow.
So I don't know, maybe that's the whole point of, these characters will live on.
Well, I mean, in her statement, she said, though our epilogue series is coming to a close, please trust that, like us, these characters will always be growing, changing, and supporting each other. So maybe?
There we go. Okay.
Feels like the door is left open a little crack.
Yeah. Any chance we can get a similar statement for Gravity Falls at some point?
God. Well, have you been watching Owl House?
I have. I
like it a lot.
I do as well. I mean, it's beautifully animated. It's got great writing. Speaking of which, though, did you get to see Duncanville?
Yeah, I like that a lot, too.
Well, what's intriguing to me is that's the showrunner in this thing, Mike Scully. Mm-hmm. He ran, he was showrunner of The Simpsons from 1997 to 2001. And the interesting thing is he then stepped away and started doing work in live action. He did Everybody Loves Raymond and then Park and Recreation. And evidently that's where he became friends with Amy Poehler, and that's when they worked together to develop this animated series. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was solid. I thought it was well written.
Did you see David Silverman has a credit as well?
Yeah. Always enjoy watching David's name show up.
Yeah.
Especially on the heels of the original Monsters, Inc. That, he'd get back 2 features, but, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
The interesting thing to remember that this is basically in the slot that Bless the Hearts had on Fox up until just recently. In fact, I guess the last episode of the season 1, which only had 10 episodes, ran on January 12th. Remember, I think we talked about this in a show last fall. That's already been picked up for a second season. Going to be interesting when they go to set the schedule.
Animation domination, Jim. That's what Fox Sunday nights are all about.
But yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see who gets to be lead sled dog here.
Right.
Because if you think about it, Bob's in no danger of being canceled. There's we've got the movie's still supposedly coming out on July 17th. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen a trailer for that yet.
I don't think it's actually coming out on July 17th.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's just been quietly moved off of things because there's it's supposedly still there, but I don't think it's going to make it. We haven't heard one thing about it yet.
No, I wasn't there at least a poster out for a while, or
there might have been at some marketing convention or something. But I wonder if that'll be a Hulu debut or Because, like, we've seen a lot of animated movies go that route. So.
Well, it's a funny you mentioned that, because the very next thing I want to talk about is the Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon. Because face it, that got theatrical release in October of last year in the UK, and here in the States, it dropped on Netflix on February 14th. I mean, you and I have talked about this previously. I'm a huge fan of Aardman. You're a huge fan of Aardman.
Huge.
And Sean does have kind of interesting history as a character. Debuted with Close Shave back in 95. And then there was the Shaun the Sheep series that launched in 2007, where they really deliberately skewed the character younger to sort of shoot for that kind of pre-K kind of audience kind of feel. And then we got the Shaun the Sheep movie in 2015. And, here we are again with Farmageddon. And I mean, I hear it's good. It's solid. It's, like I said, it's on this weekend's list of things to sit down and watch.
Oh, my God, Jim. I am out here busting my hump, watching these movies for children, for the show. And then you've been sick. This would have been completely perfect sick day material.
Well, see, this is the problem. I blame the Alka-Seltzer Plus. All right. I take it, I drink, I sit down, I watch a movie, I wake up 90 minutes later when the credits are rolling.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, technically, I have, in fact, watched the movie. I just have not retained
haven't processed it yet.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. I love both of the movies because, I mean, they're essentially silent films. It's sort of animation at its purest form. So I think you'll really get a kick out of it. And the little alien character is an absolute hoot. So I think you're going to like it a lot.
All right. Well, as soon as we wrap up here, I promise I will switch from the Alka-Seltzer Plus to coughing. But speaking of stuff out of the UK, last week we had almost way too much stuff about Winnie the Pooh. But there's a couple of stories left that have interesting little bends on Disney's experience with Pooh, which we'll get to in a sec.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds, bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss, lunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
Okay, so now we got a letter from our longtime listener, Bernie Drew, who, in response to last week's show, pointed out that we kind of stepped around one of the weirder aspects of Disney and Pooh, and that was the Pooh for President campaign that the company didn't do just once. It actually did, 68, 72, 76, and in 1980. And to start things off here, that was a very different mindset from when you worked at the company, right?
Yes. Well, yeah. So I was a content strategist, I believe was my title. And so I was working on the blogs on Disney.com and the social media channels. And Winnie the Pooh is one of the biggest channels. I mean, I think that page has a follower count that rivals, Mickey Mouse and Big Disney. So we were always putting stuff on that page, and I always was at, like, the weirdo I am, looking at history and things that we could potentially use for that page. And let me tell you how forbidden anything related to Pooh for President was, Jim. I mean, that was on the top of the do not post list. And I'm not really sure why. I think there must be some legality issues, and also probably the fact that they didn't want like thousands of comments about what either would Pooh be a Democrat or a Republican, that kind of thing. But yeah, we never could even refer to the Pooh for President movement. Because we even pitched like, well, can we introduce a new character to run for president? You know, Pascal for president or something. But that was very soundly rejected by the powers that be. So yeah, it's very interesting. So getting this story out, this will be very cathartic for me, Jim, because I can finally get it out there.
Well, you know, and it's so funny because if you go to YouTube right now and type in Pooh for President, there is a 56-second long piece that Disney prepped. And in fact, I guess the AP Wire service grabbed it and made it available to television stations around the country. It's Pooh, Tigger, and Eeyore doing things like they're on the Jungle Cruise with posters trying to recruit the hippos. You know, and at one point they show Pooh on a stepladder trying to get Teddy Bear's vote inside the Country Bear Playhouse. I mean,
I'm very into that, Jim. Very into that.
Very straight. But the weird part of it is that evidently this whole thing, this whole idea came up in 68. And remember, as tough an election year as we're about to face in 2020, anybody who's as old as I am remembers 68, where there was rioting in the streets outside of the Chicago convention for the Democrats. And I mean, it was an amazingly brutal political year for the country. And the weird part of it is that here was Disney getting ready to release the second Pooh featurette, Blustery Day. It was going to go into theaters in December of that year on a double bill with the horse with the gray flannel suit. And so it's like, what would be, you know, what could garner some additional publicity? And so, well, why don't we, you know, and again, you know, on this year, people are riding in the street, hey, why don't we do a lighthearted presidential campaign? And so,
I'm just shocked that you needed any more press for the horse in the gray flannel suit. I mean, I thought that would just be bringing people in, Jim. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that the guy who played the comic supporting role in that film, Maury Amsterdam from the Dick Van Dyke Show, he was actually the host of the kickoff event for Pooh for President 68, which was held at the Hollywood Bowl on July 14th, 1968. And then it transitioned into this sort of weird in-park event where they do 2 shows a day on the Tomorrowland stage. But to give you some idea of what a strange moment it was in American entertainment history, that every so often celebrities would join Pooh on stage at these events, you know, in the park. And at one point, Peggy Lee got up on stage. And it was one of these things where it's like, I'm here to endorse Winnie the Pooh. And it's okay. But anyway, election happens in November of 68. Movie comes out in December of 68. All of this additional publicity seemed to have worked really well for the film because it ends up taking home that year's Academy Award for Best Animated Short. But again, the weird thing is Disney as an organization knows what to do with films. But featurettes, it was like, and especially, you know, as you mentioned, this super popular character. In fact, that's the other thing here that people need to remember is Disney had signed this deal with Sears, and Sears was selling mountains of Winnie the Pooh merchandise. It was constantly like, you got to do more, you got to do more. And so, you know, for example, March of 1970, Disney actually showed the original Winnie the Pooh feature, Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, on NBC as a special, sponsored by Sears, and it did so well the very next year, literally, you know, almost the exact same date. On NBC, they show Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day as a featurette. But anyway, now it's 1972, and once again, here we are. You know, it's like, wow, the publicity the last time around did so well. You know, we got to tie into this presidential thing again. This time around, though, they decided to do something a little smaller. I mean, they mind you, it's a 3-day-long event that's held at Disneyland. And by the way, they instead of a ticker tape parade, they have a Tigger tape parade.
Love that.
Yeah. And Tigger's supposedly Pooh's campaign manager in this. And in fact, God help me, I've read through all of the PR that was put together for this. And for example, Pooh's running mate, the vice president, was supposed to be Owl, because the thinking was because he's a bird, he could easily bring in left-wingers and right-wingers. All right, so it's 72's done, but Pooh continues to sell a lot of merch. In November of 73, Robin Hood comes out, and there's this kind of weird pause at Disney Studios because they can't quite grasp what they're going to do with the rescuers. In fact, I think, Drew, didn't you write once about, the early iterations of the rescuers? Like for one point, they were supposed to rescue Louis Prima, who was, a polar bear in a zoo.
Yeah.
They couldn't settle on a story. And it was one of these things that it was clear the film wasn't working, but they had all these animators sitting around doing nothing. And so they were like, all right, well, let's do another Winnie the Pooh. Go till we figure out the story for rescuers. And that's how we ended up with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. That comes out to theaters December of 1974. And, sadly, Drew, they did not get Horse in the Gray Flannel Suit 2. They did, however, get The Island at the Top of the World, which I keep meaning to rewatch because there was this great story in, do you remember American Film Magazine?
Yeah.
Okay. They did a profile of Robert Stevenson, the gentleman who directed, not only Island at the Top of the World, but Mary Poppins, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. A lot of the hit films of the 60s and 70s that Disney produced, Robert directed. In fact, that was the interesting headline. And this will date the article for you, Drew, because it was talking about, the lead for the piece was who is the top grossing director in all of Hollywood. To thinking, well, it's got to be Spielberg, it's got to be Lucas. It's like, no, at this point, it was Robert Stevenson. And they listed, all of his box office and all of the films he directed for Disney and what they'd earned. But they proceeded to, talk about one of the reasons that he kept working at Disney. He was one of these guys where it's like, you don't build any more set than you need. And there's this great story in the middle of this piece, the profile of Robert Stevenson, where it talks about when he was shooting The Island at the Top of the World, he sat down with the set director, or the art director for the film, and they figured it's this movie set where it's this race of explorers being chased by this lost tribe of Vikings. And what Robert and the art director figured out is like they needed basically one giant rock that, if they shot it from all angles, if they just built one giant rock, they could use it for the entire movie. Evidently, if you're watching the movie carefully, you can pick out, okay, left side of the rock, right side of the rock, front of rock, top of rock, bottom of rock. But they didn't have to go on location. They could shoot it all on a soundstage with one giant fake rock. So
was he supposed to be doing the Gorbachev not Gorbachev, who is it at Disneyland movie?
Oh, Khrushchev at
Disneyland with Peter Ustinov.
Yeah, I want to say, in fact, if the story, as I understand it, is true, he was shooting Blackbeard's Ghost with, in effect, Dean Jones. Dean Jones, Peter Ustinov, in fact, that's the famous story of Walt coming on the set during his last walk around the studio. And, Suzanne Plagette was there because she's the female lead in the film. And, she's sitting and talking with Walt and teasing him. And then just goes back to her dressing room and bursts into tears because he looked so terrible.
Well, that was after he'd had like a lung removed, right? And stuff.
Yeah. And that was the thing that here's Ustinov, Walt and Ustinov are talking about Khrushchev at Disneyland and how this is going to be the next project. And, Robert's going to direct it. And, Walt walks off the set and Dean and, Peter sort of share a look like he's never coming back.
Right.
And did you, when you worked at Disney, did you ever reach out to the archive about Khrushchev at Disneyland?
No, I never did. No. They're so particular, those guys. Yeah.
Somewhere, there's a script for that thing. We got to chase it down.
Yes, we will.
All right. So anyway, okay. Again, back to 1976. Again, presidential year. That's when Carter comes into office, and sure enough, here's Pooh for president. In fact, this is the absolute weirdest moment in the entire Pooh for president thing for me, at least for me, Drew. A recording artist called David Gross writes a song called Pooh for President, which, again, you can go on YouTube and listen to right now. And again, Sears, because it's just in the Winnie the Pooh business 24/7. They make a Disneyland storyteller record of it. I want to say it's the 45. There's an 8-page booklet that goes with it. They make it available for sale inside of every Sears around the country. It sells a ridiculous number of copies, so many copies that it winds up being nominated for a Grammy as the best children's album for 1976.
Wow.
Thank God it doesn't win, but, that just gives you some idea of how crazy this stuff got. Anyway, we jump now to March of 1977. And again, now Disney has these 3 Winnie the Pooh featurettes, which again, as I mentioned, Disney doesn't know what to do with movies. It just doesn't know what to do with featurettes. And finally, some of the studios are like, look, we've actually done what Walt wanted to do back in 1960s. We have animated enough footage to make a Winnie the Pooh movie. All we need to do is create some little bridges, some little additional pieces of animation, and we got a movie. And that's what they do. They stitch together the featurettes with some new footage. Then we'll talk about the most important piece of new footage in a sec. But that goes out into theaters as a double bill with The Littlest Horse Thieves in March of 77.
Again, isn't The Littlest Horse Thieves enough of a draw, Jim? I mean, that's really what I'm getting at here.
It's a wonderful film.
Yeah.
Unforgettable. That's it. So... And in fact, is it on Disney Plus?
I don't think so, but it might. God knows what's on Disney Plus these days.
Okay. So anyway, the thing is, the people who were working on the Winnie the Pooh film felt like, look, we are taking 3 featurettes and trying to make it into a movie. And so movies have ends. So let's animate an end to the Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin story. And literally, that's, if you go back and watch this movie now, there's a scene where it's Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin on a hilltop, and Christopher Robin explains that he's about to start going to school and they won't get to spend, as much time with Winnie the Pooh. And it's the famous quote, well, if we can't be together, keep me in your heart and we'll be together always. And it's a really sweet end to the story. And it's got Sebastian Cabot's back to do the narration, and it ends with, when we leave these 2 characters there on that hilltop in the golden sun. And, it's a beautiful end to the story. But again, this is the Walt Disney Company, and it's like there's profit to be had. And so we need to bring an additional person into the story now. His name is Rick Reinhardt. He's an animator, was based out of Cleveland. I used to work with MGM in their cartoon department. Also did some animation for the U.S. Army. And he ends up landing a contract with the Walt Disney Educational Media Company. And yet again, folks, you can go to YouTube right now and watch the films that Rick did for the company. And the first of which is Food and Fun, a Nutritional Adventure from 1981. And for all of you Orange Bird fans out here, this is an actual movie that stars Orange Bird, about 10 minutes long, and explains about good nutrition. And it gets a little weird because basically at one point Orange Bird is advised to start eating himself to get some fruits and vegetables. But, that does, Disney's happy enough with that they ask Rick and his team to produce a short featuring the Winnie the Pooh characters called Winnie the Pooh Discovers the Seasons. And it's basically a film to be shown to kids in public schools that explains fall, winter, summer, and the like. In fact, at one point they make a point of, well, fall is autumn, kids, just in case you're confused. But the interesting part in the summer segment of the movie, there's a moment where Eeyore is in a pool of water, floating on his back with his feet up in the air. And it's influenced by the A.A. Milne story of the Pooh Sticks Bridge. And evidently somebody at Disney saw that on the feature side of things. And it's like, well, that's almost as good as what we do. And, we're really busy in animation right now. We're trying to figure out how to get the Black Cauldron out the door, but we know another Winnie the Pooh featurette would probably do really well released theatrically. So they actually hire Reinhardt's company to produce a brand new 20-minute long featurette. It's called Winnie the Pooh and a Day for Eeyore. And in this case, Drew, it goes out into theaters March of 1983 with a re-release of Sword in the Stone. And what was especially interesting about this is that Disney wasn't willing to commit any more money to Winnie the Pooh animation, or at least the sort of money that they'd spend on a featurette, because they were already plowing millions of dollars into the development of Welcome to Pooh Corner. Do you remember this from the...
Oh, Jim, how could I? I've gone to therapy many times to try to get rid of this out of my brain. This was like one of the very first Disney Channel shows, I believe, and I remember watching it as a child.
It was an opening day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the very first day of the show, that cable network went on the air, which was April 18th, 1983. Touching back on your Disney, the 80s night at Disneyland, I think it was actually paired with Mouser's Size. It was like, one
really?
was this, the 7 to 7:30, and the other one was 7:30, 8 o'clock. But yeah, this is the show that you don't really see today because it makes use of, what do they call it? Puppetronics. It's basically the character costumes, sort of like the ones that are done for the parks, only with radio controlled eyes and mouths. And I know today, all of us who go to the parks and will see the talking and singing Mickey, Donald, Goofy, that sort of thing. Those are so much more sophisticated than what was done for Welcome to Pooh Corner. And Dumbo Circus, I think, was also the other one. They did 2 shows featuring
Dumbo Circus, so. Yes. Yeah, that was equally horrifying.
Yeah. So, anyway, long story short, they produced, I swear to God, Drew, there's 100 episodes of Welcome to Pooh Corner. So,
yeesh.
Yeah. So, and again, just in case those folks at Disney Plus are listening, hey, it's there. Hundreds of us were waiting to be traumatized again, so dig it out.
I don't think anyone could deal with an HD version of that show.
This is not one of the things that HD would help.
Yeah.
But then, 15 months later, Michael Eisner comes through the door as the new head of the Walt Disney Company. And again, Michael's all about not being precious with the characters and bringing them on to Saturday morning and all that. That's then January of 1988. We get the new Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. We get 50 episodes of a new hand-drawn version show with the characters. That runs for, I want to say, 3 seasons total. And then from there, if we jump ahead almost a decade, Disney begins going into the home premiere business, especially on the heels of how many millions upon millions of copies of, Return of Jafar got sold in 94. And so this is when we end up in August of 1997 with Winnie the Pooh and the Search for Christopher Robin's, which should basically be subtitled, Please Disregard Everything That You Saw in the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. What do you mean Christopher Robin said goodbye to Pooh? That didn't happen. Come on, kids. And again, it sold so many copies that's what led to the Piglet movie, the Tigger movie, the Christopher Robin movie, and the Winnie the Pooh film. And again, let alone My Friend Tigger and Pooh. Think again, that circling back to your story about how hugely popular Winnie the Pooh is in the social media channels and all that. I think, we're kidding ourselves if we think we've seen the last Winnie the Pooh related product from Disney.
Yeah, if you thought that Harry Potter could kill off Winnie the Pooh, you're wrong, buddy. You're wrong. Although, I don't know. You saw the Christopher Robin movie from a couple years ago, right?
I did. I did. Yeah.
Not the best. Not the best.
No. In fact, I went into that with such high expectations because, face it, it was the same director who did Finding Neverland.
Right.
Which did such a beautiful job of sort of folding Peter Pan into the real world. And I was really hoping that it would be in that film style.
No, instead we got Christopher Robin with PTSD. So what everyone wanted.
Okay. And so just to review here, we wound up with 8 Harry Potter movies. Is that
Yes,
correct?
8 for now.
And correct me, when they finished filming, how many Mission Impossible movies will we have?
We will have 8 Mission Impossible movies as well.
8!
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
balance to the force. There we go. Now, speaking of which, you do such a great job covering what's going on with the Mission Impossible movies over at Light the Fuse. What's going on with that podcast lately?
Well, I mean, we have some great guests lined up. I think I've already said that we have John Knoll from ILM, who tells some amazing stories. Animation fans are definitely going to want to hear that because for a big section of that chat, we actually talk about 1906, Brad Bird's earthquake movie, which he was on. Yeah, and he tells stories about it, which I've never heard before. Details about the production, how that was actually in development before Mission Impossible. There is apparently some kind of sizzle reel out there, Jim, that we have to find that was part of his pitch. So we've got that. We've got a lot of March. We've got a lot of really exciting guests lined up. I don't want to say who, because in case they fall through, but yeah, the 7th movie started shooting today, actually, in Italy.
Wow.
So yeah, we will be keeping an eye on things, Jim. Our watchful eye will be upon the production. So yeah.
Okay. Well, again, forgive me for doing it, but I cannot stress enough. 1906 is one of those amazing, almost happened movies, and the fact that to get somebody to actually talk about the work that was done on it, dear Lord, I'm going there now to listen to this podcast.
Yeah. That episode will be in 2 weeks. So you got a little more time to wait. But yeah, it's an amazing conversation. I mean, John Knoll is he's done everything and he's so good at it. And so there's rumors that he's coming back for the next 2. So we've got to confirm that. Ooh. But yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Okay. Well, all right. If you're killing time till you get to hear that amazing John Knoll move, you can head over to Jim Hill Media. We've got Disney Dish with Len Testo. We've got Universal Joint with Justin Fuse. We've got Looking at Lucasfilm with Dan Z. We've got the Marvelous Disney podcast with Aaron Adams, the talented gentleman who edits a lot of the podcasts here. And in fact, this weekend, I'm recording a brand new episode of I Want That with Michelle Valladolid. So that'll be out there shortly. Tell you what, folks, if you could do Drew and I a favor, head over to iTunes and not only rate and recommend Light the Fuse, but also find Tony, if you would please. That helps get additional ears and eyeballs. If you really, really like what you heard here today, head over to Bandcamp and subscribe. And now, Light the Fuse, it does have a social media presence. I know I've seen you on
it's on
Twitter.
Twitter. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. You are posting pictures of your cat. We are also there. Not posting pictures of cats.
Nova, the Wonder Dog.
Yes, yes.
Well, same thing in regard to Jim Hill Media. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram as Jim Hill Media, and on Facebook is Jim Hill Media News. Don't know why, but anyway, until Drew and I get around to recording a new show, that's it for now, folks. Thanks for listening. And again, 2 weeks to that John Knoll interview.
Yes.
Must listen.
Yes.
Must listen.
Yes.
So